to know what is right or wrong, we do not use corporal punishment anymore. Now, let me come to the question that you asked. Are there any countries that have abolished corporal punishment? So we have about 195 countries in the world at the moment. Of those 195, about 54 of them have abolished corporal punishment in all settings. And so we have 54 countries that have completely said no more to corporal punishment. This is more or less of a third, or just about a third, of our countries in the world. But we have about 127, 128 countries that have abolished corporal punishment in schools. So as far as schools are concerned, the world has done very well. We have abolished corporal punishment in almost 3/4 of the countries in the world. But as far as all settings, and by all settings we mean in the home, in the judiciary systems, and also in schools, we have about 54 countries that have done so. Of those 54 countries, about 6 of them are African countries. We are 54 now, about 55 countries in Africa, and only about 6 have abolished corporal punishment in all settings, including in the home. And these are Benin, South Sudan, Republic of Congo, Kenya, Tunisia, and Togo. And I think South Africa as well should be part of that. So that is what has happened as far as corporal punishment in all settings is concerned. In all settings, the reason why we don't have much movement as far as all settings is concerned is that there is still that resistance by parents and guardians who feel that as a parent I'm supposed to be allowed to discipline my child using the road as well. You hear, as we have discussions here, people arguing that the Bible says spare the rod and spoil the child. We also hear that the African child is different. They need to be beaten with a rod. You also hear other arguments of people saying we have become successful because we're beaten as children. I will just highlight these, and maybe we'll respond to them later on as we discuss. But those are some of the defective reasons that are given for hitting children. None of them are actually proven to be true. But yeah, we'll talk about them maybe at a later stage. Now, I want to come to the second part of the question. You said, for those countries that have removed corporal punishment, how have they been disciplined? To what extent have they been successful in disciplining their children? I think the earliest country to remove corporal punishment was Sweden in 1979. And I think the latest one is Nepal, just in 2018. But of course, Zimbabwe also then removed in judicial settings in April this year. This one is the issue about how disciplined they are is a difficult one to really answer. You would not find studies that really talk about how disciplined they are, but we know that some of these European countries are some of the most disciplined as far as their children are concerned. They are doing very well, they're developing very well, and they do not use corporal punishment. What has happened is that they've devised, because they've removed corporal punishment as a means of discipline, they've then devised other ways of disciplining their own children, and those ways have been working. But I don't want to talk about those countries only. I want to talk about Zimbabwe as well. In Zimbabwe, we've always had Group A schools, and I don't know what the groupings are now today. We have a gentleman from education to tell us how our schools are now grouped. But we used to have Group A schools, Group B, and so on. The Group A schools never used to use corporal punishment. For a long time, they do not use corporal punishment. Your Gateways, your Arundel, your all those schools. But no one can really tell me that those children are not disciplined. So corporal punishment seems to follow poverty as well. Our schools were in our ghettos, in our rural areas, those impoverished schools, that is where we're beating up our children. But where those who are high up, those who are affluent, they don't use corporal punishment, and their children are doing very well. They're doing well the same way other children are doing everywhere. So I still want to argue that maybe let's not use examples from elsewhere. Let's use example from our own Zimbabwe. And in Zimbabwe, there are people that don't use corporal punishment, and children are still doing well. There are people who testify that I was never beaten up by my parent, and I've done well in life. And so that correlation between doing well in life and being beaten is actually not there. It is not proven anywhere. But I think for now, I'll end here and maybe proceed and respond later on. Thank you.
Quite some interesting remarks being made by my brother here. What I just picked up, the one that I liked very much, the interplay between poverty and corporal punishment. It just struck something within me. But what we would want to do is just pick up the tempo, go on to the next speaker, Mr. Zimunga from Child Protection Services. Is going to give us his piece regards this topic that we're talking about. What will be quite interesting to find out from him is that he's the one who deals with the children. So he's going to be giving us a more in-depth approach regards what kind of effects the children undergo if they are actually subjected to corporal punishment. It's not something that just happens in isolation, that the children are subjected to this kind of abuse and it goes away. He's going to actually delve deeper into that and give us a better insight. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I was correcting him. The department is social welfare, and the section that I belong to is the Child Protection Services. I'm going to discuss much on alternatives to corporal punishment, and I'm going to talk of positive discipline. We've said that a number of countries have outlawed corporal punishment, and in Zimbabwe as well, corporal punishment has been outlawed. But what are the alternatives? Can we leave the children misbehaving? How best can we mold children to behavior so that they become responsible people, responsible adults to build a nation? Positive discipline is much encouraged. We are not saying that children should not be disciplined. Once they misbehave, they break some laws, they break some rules and regulations, they are supposed to be disciplined. So long before corporal punishment was used. But now we would need to positively discipline our children. Positive discipline, I would want to describe it as a process. It's not a one-day event. This is a process where we would want to lead the child, train the child, or train the child into someone who would obey set rules and regulations in the short term or a long term. Remember, we are having a child who will become an adult, who will interact with other people in the community. So it is in the family, it is in the community, it is in the school setting that such a child is molded. So that when he or she interacts with the community, he won't be a deviant, he or she won't be an outcast. By discipline, we want to build someone's character. We want to build someone's behavior in the society. And the evidence has shown that building that character cannot be done through corporal punishment, cannot be done through beating, cannot be done through hitting, because of some negative implication that it has. Because corporal punishment instills fear, and instills hatred, some physical, very serious negative physical results, emotional as well as psychological. So the root is positive disciplining, so as to mold the character, to build the character of that particular child. Positive discipline, we want to teach a child self-control and build confidence into a child. Because without confidence, the child will not fit into the community. So we want to teach the child self-control and instill confidence into a child, such that you will learn the norms and values of the community, of the society. Then I have some suggestions here to positive disciplining. One of the techniques that would work when a child misbehaves or does the wrong thing is to withdraw privileges. Withdrawal of privileges. For example, a child misbehaves, you can just take the remote, the TV remote, because you know your child likes cartoons so much. You would take the remote, lock it into the cabinet for a while. And let's not take this, because some parents, they would severely punish children for withdrawing privileges. For example, denying a child food. Food is not a privilege. It's a right. So parents and teachers should be very careful when implementing this, the withdrawal of privileges, to an extent that it doesn't have some negative implications in the life of a child. Then another technique that would work is praises in case of good behavior. The child is praised. Oh, thank you very much. In Shona, would say Maita Margira, Maita Shumba. You know, mentioning the totem of this child, praising the child. If you don't praise the child, he or she wouldn't know whether what he or she did is good and acceptable. So praising the child is another good technique, as well as rewarding good behavior. Good behavior is rewarded, and the negative behavior is rejected and discussed with the child. So one important thing which is pertinent in disciplining children is communication. Communication is very, very important for the child to understand what he or she is doing. Then we also need to keep our children occupied. For example, a teacher is discovered that this child misbehaves in class. You can give this child an assignment. You are the group leader. Give some positions, give the child some responsibilities in the classroom so that you keep the child occupied with something. And when he does some misbehavior, when he thinks of doing some misbehavior, now it reflects into his mind, but I'm the group leader, I'm the class monitor, I'm the prefect. What will the headmaster say? What will the teacher say? Yes, thank you. And when he does good things, when he behaves well, there's need to encourage the child. And this will result in the child learning, work, and the child is encouraged in whatever he or she is doing. But above all, we need to pay attention to the emotional and psychological needs of the child, because the behavior is something to do with emotions. It's to do with the psychological being of a child. And we also need to help children take responsibility for good behavior and understand why those decisions are in their best interest. Because everything we do must be within the best interest of the child. Then another technique in the case of good behavior is you are disciplining your child positively, is to positively use body languages. Smiling, nodding, the child will learn a lot. Unlike you meet a child in the passage, you call a child, then you are frowning on your face, looking at the child as if he has done something very, very wrong. So the use of body languages, non-verbal communication talks a lot in terms of molding the behavior of our children. Then I've talked of rewarding correct behavior. Correct behavior should be rewarded, while inappropriate behavior is discussed and rejected with reasons. Like I said, communication is very key. When a child does some wrong things, misbehaves, there's need to communicate. Long back, you wouldn't know why you are being beaten. You would know after. But if we discuss with our children, no, this is not good. Give a child some bit of a background as you are providing counseling to the child. And this has to be in a positive and a respectful manner. When you want children to respect you, respect them, considering their evolving capacities. Then you also need to teach children self-control. Should be taught in our children how they can control themselves. Then above all, you need to understand the child's circumstances. Each child is unique as an individual, just like you. We are very different. We are from different backgrounds. We have different behaviors. And like children, don't treat A as B. Treat a child in his or her own uniqueness. And you need to understand the child's abilities. What is this child able to do in class? What is this child able to do in a family? At the same time, you also need to understand the child's needs, the child's vulnerabilities. Some children come from broken families, and the technique of disciplining them also follow that course. It's also different from some other children. Look at the circumstance of the child and come up with a rehabilitation plan so as to mold the child's behavior. I think that's all I can say for now. Thank you.
I think one thing that we are not short of that will not cost you anything, just a clap. Yeah, we will not charge you for that. I liked the way that he actually interrogated the kinds of methodologies that can be used in terms of approaching the disciplining of our children. He did not come up with confrontational methods in terms of the way that we should ensure that we bring out that well-rounded, that molded citizen. But I think before I pass on to the pastor, you keep the question with him. We are talking about a child that we can withdraw privileges in terms of as parents. We're talking about a systematic way of ensuring that there will be compliance as such from the child. But we also need to realize that we have some children that actually enjoy the continuous challenge of authority from the home front to the school, and we have tried all the other methods that are there. What next? I think he can reserve the question for the space that we have in terms of the question and answer. But on to Reverend Nyanete. Reverend, I feel a special anointing from this water. You've done something very special to it. But then your topic, we're looking at now the laws that should be put in place to ensure that corporal punishment should be abolished in all spaces. We are looking at what needs to be done, what kind of engagement needs to be done. My brother talked about issues to do with the interplay between poverty and corporal punishment. Is it that because as a parent my salary is not enough to actually take me from my workplace to home? I get home and the children are clamoring for what they want, then I decide to vent out on them. The Reverend will give us some insight on this issue. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning once again. There is a background to children's rights. And one instrument is the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Very universal. I think in the world there are only 2 countries who have not ratified that. One of them is in Africa, and it's Somalia. The other one is the big brother, the United States of America. It has not ratified the UNCRC. Then the other instrument is the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. This is the continental instrument. I think the UNCRC came about around 1990, and the African Charter then followed in 1991. I will explain the differences between the two. But those 2 instruments are responsible of the guide to children's rights. And within that, with the 2 instruments, the state of Zimbabwe ratified. So we are in agreement with all the articles or clauses within those instruments. And they speak to abolishment of corporal punishment. So we've ratified that as a country. However, we need to domesticate, and it's a process. The good part is that we, in 2013, we made an effort to address that in the new constitution. So the new constitution addresses the issue of corporal punishment, and it's very clear. However, our laws still remain with corporal punishment. And there has been an effort to address that in the judicial setting, and the corporal punishment is now abolished within the judicial settings. And it's being addressed by the new Children's Justice Bill. It's addressing that issue. But within that law or the bill, it does not really give details on positive discipline, which Mr. Simunga spoke about. And I think this is where a Legal Resources Foundation found it prudent to try and bring in some dialogue around that issue. Hence, we are here today. Also, the education bill is talking about abolishment of corporal punishment in school settings. Very positive, but still there are gaps around issues of positive. How does the teacher deal with the child? But I think the ministry, the old Education Act, had made an attempt to try and address issues of corporal punishment, After finding out that a lot of teachers were spanking children, causing injuries, and if you have done media monitoring, you have first-hand, or we have first-hand information on how teachers have been beating children. A recent case that we had is a teacher who hit a child on the desk and 2 teeth went off. And, you know, you can't get those teeth back. And this is damage that the child will live with forever. So the ministry then came up with a guide. There's a circular called P35, which then tries to manage, you know, corporal punishment in school setting by saying when a teacher identifies a child who has a challenge, he then refers that child to the headmaster. A headmaster is then required to discipline the child according to guidelines, where he is allowed to use a cane, but he is supposed to log in. Whenever he's disciplining that child, he logs into a logbook, an official logbook, and in that logbook he then states how many canes he's going to give to that child, and there has to be a witness present to see that happening. And that logbook is inspected by the school's inspector or the education officer from time to time when they do their rounds. That is how the ministry has tried. That is in the old Education Act. But the new bill is abolishing that. But there is a lot of resistance, we know, from teachers' union who think there will be chaos, from a lot of parents who, when they send their children to school, they even say to the school authorities, you can hit my child. I don't mind, right? So there are those issues that we still have. So the education bill is going to address that. The Constitution has already done that. In the judiciary system, it has already done that. But we still have challenges in the home, where the majority of Zimbabweans are Christians. Saka vanongonongawo mubhaibheri imomo. Handiti, ndo mune chikoro chacho. Ukasarova mwana akawatomukanganisa, ine spare the rod. It's in Proverbs, handiti, Pastor Berry. You want to quote the verse? Yeah. And that's exactly where we are getting it from as Zimbabweans, because we are Christians. But we also have a challenge, the way we are socialized. Marererwe atakaita ndekungorohwa futi. Unfortunately, in the two instances, the Bible does not indicate what road is it. It does not speak to that. It just says the road. Then it's up to individual family members to interpret the road. Saka ndine mugoti ndongorowa nemugoti. Kana ndakabata poto ndinongorowa nepoto. I have a case, I think, in the mid-90s, where a mother in Kwadzana Extension ironed the buttocks of her child, right, as a way of applying corporal punishment. That's the road you're talking about here, because there is no measurement. So the literal meaning of it is that road, kana uri mpondo. Those who have witnessed the war, they know makomrades haita kwairowa munhu nempondo, you know, literal, and people apply that. That's in the home setting. So there are challenges in the way we interpret. The ministry has tried to define that in the school setting, but the challenge remains because of the way of our socialization, and the positive disciplines that Mr. Simonga talked about have not really been taken aboard and popularized in terms of communities. So a lot of parents have no choices. They just have to apply what was applied to them, including the teachers as well. Because even the education curricula, the training of teachers does not go home around positive discipline as a subject, as a topic, which is examinable. It's not there. So one of our campaigns is also to take it to the Ministry of Higher Education, so that the curriculum for teachers also includes those alternatives. Going to schools and speaking about it is not enough. We need to get it, we need to get people trained in that area. So we still have a way we need to do away with. But fortunately, our courts have done their best, because they've also interpreted the two instruments, the UNCRC, the African Charter, and they've outlawed corporal punishment. The recent one was by Justice Mangota, where he spoke to all the settings, right? Judiciary, the schools, and the home. So in terms of the courts, they are spot on. They understand what has to be applied. But unfortunately, magistrates can only work using acts, and the acts are not aligned as we speak, including the Children's Act that Mr. Zimunga refers to when he's sitting in the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare. The Children's Act is a principal act which talks a lot about children and even the way they are supposed to be handled, and it talks to the High Court being the custodian of children, all children in Zimbabwe, with parents or without parents. The High Court is the custodian of all children. This is what you need to know. When you spank a child and Mr. Zimunga comes to remove that child from the home, he is literally applying the law in terms of the High Court. He is given the directive by the High Court to remove the child to a place of safety. So a lot of people, we've heard parents who say, this officer is trying to come in, and we remind them that the law can remove a child from any setting. They have the right to take that child out. And they're doing that to this day, literally. And normally when they assume that role, they are probation officers. And they normally work with the courts. So whenever children are in conflict with the law, we also need to know that a probation officer is supposed to be present to handle all cases of children, irrespective of their age, as long as they are below 18. The courts must supposed to refer to a probation officer to say we have a case of a child. Even the police is supposed to do that. Then Zimunga prepares a report and recommends to the magistrate action. So this is around the law in Zimbabwe, but we still have, the act has not been aligned as we speak. There are still issues there. And also within the judiciary setting, the argument still remains, what then becomes the positive discipline? This child is in conflict of the law, and there is a way we need to discipline. That has not been defined, and I think this dialogue would help try and define that. How does the judiciary system then handle children with deviant behavior? But I know a little history about the Ministry of Social Welfare, that in the past they used to have rehabilitation centers. They even had remand centers for children. I think you've heard about probation centers. I know one in Tare, I know North Court, I know Kadoma, Luvev. They've tried to restructure these centers, but they still apply that. They deal with children who have had challenges in their life. So there's still that space within the department. And the positive discipline that Mrs. Zimunga was speaking to is then applied to those children. Then coming back to the issue of poverty that Blessing spoke about, why children are engaged in child labor is because parents try and augment income using their children. So that's the link with poverty in many respects. So in that effort, unfortunately, we do not consider the developmental stages of that child. We want the child to carry 20 liters of water at 10 years. It's not possible. We want that child to be in the field for hours on end as if they're adults. But the Department of Labor, in terms of the Labor Act, it speaks to the issue of child labor and how it's supposed to be handled. It also speaks of child labor and child work, right? It's there within the law. And when it's speaking to child labor, it specifies how much time that child can be engaged in terms of hours of work. And whenever you decide to engage, it's referred to as apprenticeship even in the Ministry of Education. It then specifies the hours, the age of the child, and you are supposed also to log in whenever you want to engage. And I think there will be above 16 when you can engage children in child labor. But below that, it's more of child work. We know within socialization, a lot of parents would want to impact skills in their children. Kutsvaira murumake, kugeza ondiro and what. So that element, those elements are allowed, but you need to work within a specified time frame, maybe 10, 15 minutes, and let the child play. Remember, child play is part of child development. Thank you.
It does not give me any pleasure to cut short the man of God, but I have to. Quite some interesting issues that actually came out from the discussions that we have been having. But I wanted to bring back the microphone to the man of God. We are talking now about ensuring that the message goes through to all Zimbabweans. But what I have noticed now is that there is what I can then define as the perpetrators in terms of the corporal punishment, the parents. What can we do to ensure that the message that what is being done to the children is wrong actually cascades to the parents? The laws can be put in place, but if the actual perpetrators of the corporal punishment do not know, then we might be taking another step backward.
Interesting question. The Minister of Social Welfare has a responsibility to provide information. The positive that Mrs. Munga spoke about should be public information. And I would want to encourage using this technology for the department to provide these alternatives publicly, so that new parents and even old parents can access it. It's quite possible. It's not expensive. We have a lot of phones that can download that information to help our children. On the other hand, as the child rights sector, where I'm coming from, we are embarking on a program with the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation around first talking to the evils of corporal punishment. And we are putting together cases of people who have experienced corporal punishment, and the psychological and the physical injuries that they still bear to this day, and some of them are adults. So we are on that program, and this program would ensure even religious leaders, the government itself, come to the broadcaster and begin to speak or popularize the alternatives as well. That's some of the efforts that we're putting in place.
Right. I would want to then open the floor for any questions. You can actually see that people have heard quite a lot, and with Zimbabweans, unongoona kuti yeah, people are burning up with questions. So the floor is actually open for questions, but as we warm up, I actually had the question that I had posed to my brother, Mr. Zimunga, regards the I wouldn't know whether I am also falling within the issue of corporal punishment regards the terminology that I'll use, that rogue child. When we were growing up, they used to call it anzi nini, mwana uyo wokuti chero ukarowa neshamu, ukarowa nebhandi, ukarowa nemugoti, anoguma asingachachemi. Not that I'm advocating for corporal punishment, but then I'm just putting it across, whereby you find a child that relishes in challenging authority. What can be done? How do we ensure that we actually assist the child? What methodologies are at the disposal of the parent so that they are not frustrated by this child?
Thank you very much for the question. That in case of continuous misbehavior, remember there are various alternatives that can be used, considering the child's ability, considering the child's circumstances. What works for child A might not work for child B, because they are different individuals. But in case of recidivism, continuous misbehavior, the laws are very clear. That child now, in terms of the Children's Act, is a child in need of care. He needs care, he needs protection, and he needs rehabilitation. Meaning to say, there's need now to engage professional counselors, engage psychologists, engage the police, the victim-friendly unit for counseling, engage social workers who can provide specialist counseling services to the child. And in the event that the child continues to misbehavior, the laws allow us to take the child to the children's court, not a criminal court. The child is not an offender, but it's a child in need of care, because he's continuing to play truants, he's continuing to misbehave, he's become uncontrollable. And the children's court is various ways of disposing, of assisting the child. And one of them, like Reverend said, is our rehabilitation institutions, our training institute. Long back, they looked like little prisons. But Reverend can agree with me, it's now a thing of the past. They are now called children's institutions. We have one here in Harare, another one in Gweru, another one in Kadoma. In Blawayo there are two, and there's one in Mutare, where they go there for a specific period of time, getting rehabilitation, getting counseling, some skills training, and so forth. And that child is to go through the children's court in terms of the law.
All right, the floor is now open for questions. Anyone who is burning up? Okay, we've got a taker.
Good morning, everyone. My name is...
All right, I think you're on the right track. You were reading my mind, your name, and the organization that you are actually coming from.
Okay, my name is Maita Nyarota. I am a volunteer in the Legal Resources Foundation of my community in Kambuzuma. That's where I'm coming from. I've got a question which is, here in Harare, we are a little bit privileged than the rural areas for those who are marginalized, in communities where there are no all these platforms we are using to get the information. Since information is power, how do you reach out to those communities with such programs like this one, so that the rural children can also be involved in the awareness of these laws?
Okay.
Thank you. Mrs. Munga's offices are spread out through the Zimbabwe. I know in each district of the 56 in the country they are present. The police victim-friendly unit is present throughout the country in communities. And I think Mr. Zimunga explained that when you see this repetition in a child, then you need to use these agencies to get the child, helped. So these agencies are all over the country. We just need to take advantage. I think the perception around taking a child to the police has always been of criminal nature. In our mind, we think the child has committed a crime. But as you heard, there is now a children's court. So whenever a child is being handled through the Ministry of Justice, that court takes responsibility to help the child. So I think even in remote areas, the police are present, the department is present. Let's take advantage of those spaces.
Just to add, at the community level, just like in Harare, we have community child care workers who are there, who are volunteers like you, who are there, whose role is to identify these children and refer them to the nearest district social welfare office.
Yeah, so what this session is essentially for, it's actually question and answer. Even contributions are also most welcome. There is a hand that is up.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vanessa Chivisha from Junior Parliament. I would like to ask, how is the government dealing with teachers who are not following protocol, who are not handing over the right to corporately punish children to the headmasters of the school?
I'm not sure if we're able to answer this one, but we have someone from education. I think we talked earlier. I'm not sure if we're able to properly answer this one. But what we know is that Reverend talked about the P35, which for quite some time, since 1998, it said teachers should not be allowed to beat up children. Only the headmaster is allowed to do that under the certain conditions that were supposed to be followed. We know from evidence that that has not been done. Teachers are still beating up children as they want in our country, and nothing's really being done. But maybe the Reverend also talked about the lack of a proper law, comprehensive law, actually saying if you do this, this is what is going to happen to you. So maybe with the coming in of the Education Amendment Bill, maybe we'll now have a proper law that sanctions the beating up of children by teachers. But yes, maybe we can get assistance from education.
Yeah, your question is important, but you need to know if a crime is committed, you can also report it, and you report it to the police. Even in a school setting, you still have that right to report the matter. I know of one school in Goromonzi where a child went to the police because he was beaten and his ear could no longer hear, the left ear. The matter was taken to the police, and the teacher was then disciplined by the courts. So those are the alternatives currently as we wait for the bill to become an act.
Okay, more hands coming up. The nearest.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tawanda Machingura, and I'm from Childline, Zimbabwe. My question is, in terms of, I would not like to call it recidivism, but I would like to call it continuous misbehavior. We talked about probation homes as a solution to continuous misbehavior, without also forgetting the fact that children, almost let me refer to my peers, are likely to enjoy challenging the authority. Will that not lead into, maybe with the fact of us enjoying challenging the authority, will that not lead a child into becoming a criminal in the end, somehow? Or would that not lead to, or putting a child at risk of discrimination, labeling, leading to hardening of a child in terms of the behavior issues after we have taken a child to a probation home?
Like I said, thank you very much for the contribution. Like I said, these institutions have now reformed. Long back, they were like literal prisons. If you visit them, you will see some cells which were used prior to independence during the colonial period. But now, you see houses, you see dormitories. It's no longer a closed institution, such that the environment is friendly, the child goes to school just like another child, mixing with other children in the community. Yes, there might be labeling, there might be discrimination, but in the long run, the child will benefit from it in terms of the rehabilitation that is provided there. Yes, some who abscond, there are some who abscond totally from these institutions. We take them back, we try to revise the rehabilitation plan that we have initiated. But in the long run, we've had very successful results from these institutions, which are called, they are now children's institutions.
So I think from what my brother is saying, there's been a migration from the rehabilitation. The name itself, it actually gives some connotations, and what he's simply trying to say is they're trying to make everything, to make the child, put the child in an environment whereby the positives will actually emanate from that. And I think the questions are are flowing, and I will not monopolize the flow. I am beginning to feel the power that politicians have right now, but I'll give you the floor. Don't worry, you can.
All right, morning everyone. My name is Chenjerai Chigumbra from Catch. Basically, I wanted to just make a small contribution that the power of a law is not necessarily in the drafting, but also in the implementation. So with that in mind, in this country, how do you create a reporting culture? I say that because in jurisdictions and places where they've successfully abolished corporal punishment, you understand that the communities, the people there and the children there feel empowered to actually report cases in which they have been beaten, and people in the community who have witnessed these things actually have manners and are empowered to actually report these things. And considering the Zimbabwean context as well, how much is resources as a factor in terms of a department like social welfare? How much resources can they actually allocate to effectively deal with people now actually bringing cases of corporal punishment to them? And as CSOs, how can we actually offer resources and actually be part of responding and assisting the departments in doing such things?
Okay, quite a critical question. It just reminded me of that issue whereby the parent comes in and hands over the child to the headmaster. Uyu ndiye wangu mwana uyu, imimi ndima mbereki wacho.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. In terms of implementation, how civil society organizations can complement government efforts, especially the Department of Social Welfare. We have in place the National Case Management System, and every organization, every CSO is very much welcome to complement us using that system with the resources that are being pulled from donors. We have quite a number of organizations that have been forthcoming in assisting, in complementing our efforts in trying to ensure the protection of children, the realization of their rights. One of them is the organization led by our renowned Reverend, the Zimbabwe Council for the Welfare of Children, assisting, in fact, complementing us in terms of reunification of children, unaccompanied children, children living on the streets, and so forth. We also have UNICEF, we have World Education, we have the Malambo Trust, we have USAID, and so forth. They are forthcoming. So if there are any CSOs who are willing to partner us in the national case management system, we have developed a system of assisting these children down from community level, where I was talking of community child care workers, strengthening the capacity of communities to respond to child rights violations, as well as to come up with community surveillance mechanisms kuti vana vange vakachengetedzeka in the communities. We are very aware resources might not be enough with government, but donors are very much welcome to complement our efforts.
Systems, methodologies, ways being put in place to ensure that our children are kept safe. But one thing keeps nagging at the back of my mind. We have not really interrogated what kind of human being, what kind of child do we create if we continuously instill the corporal punishment upon the child. What kind of individual are we creating? Mr. Msho, can you tell us more about this phenomenon? What happens to the child that is continuously beaten, continuously subjected to abuse?
All right, thank you for that. Just to quickly follow up on the question that you had asked earlier around how do we create a culture of reporting before I come to the consequences there. I think a culture of reporting begins with a law, because people have to feel that if I report, something is going to happen. This is where you get a question that the young lady, the junior MP here asked. She said, what is being done when teachers violate the law? Because nothing happens when people violate the law. So the law has to be the very first thing to happen. Let there be law that says if this happens, this is what is going to happen to you. But what then has to follow is us going into communities and trying to change social norms, beliefs, values, etc. that people believe around corporal punishment. Let us go in there and debunk the issue of what the Reverend talked about earlier, spare the road and spare the child. Let us explain that concept to our communities. What is a road in the Bible? A road in the Bible is he has got so many faces. It is the same road that Moses would use when he's walking around it. He was holding a rod. It was a road of guidance. It was a road that give direction. It wasn't a road for beating up people. It is the same road that shepherds in the Bible would use to shepherd their sheep. It is a road that they are using for guiding and correcting, but not to beat up people. The same Bible also tells us it is Matthew 18 says, whoever welcomes a child in my name welcomes me. That is the same Bible that we are talking about. It goes on to say, whoever causes a child to suffer or stumble in sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of sea. The same Bible that is talking about the road. It would say, kune munhu ari kurwadza mwana musunge idombo mukande mudziva remvura. The same Bible that we're talking about. So let's try to debunk these myths in our communities. So it's beyond the law. Let's go into communities and talk about what does it mean to beat up a child. What to say that I am what I am because I was beaten up as a child. It is not true. It is not true, because for 5 children, same parents, and they were all beaten. They did not all turn up to be presidents and doctors and lawyers, and some of them are stealing right now. Some of them are doing drugs, but they're all beaten. So there are other variables that are leading to people being successful in life, but that is not. It is not about beating them. So we need to go into communities and change these social norms, discuss these norms, values, and religious beliefs. But let me quickly talk about what kind of person we are creating when we are using corporal punishment. At the very basic level, we are creating a person who believes that when you disagree with another person, you fight. That is what we are creating there, because that is what we are doing. We disagree with our child, they do something wrong, we beat them. And so we are telling them that if this happens to another person as well, if they go to school, they disagree with a colleague, they beat them up, because they are seeing it happening from their parents. We are creating a person who believes that someone who is weaker can be beaten up by someone who is stronger. But that is what we are doing. We are strong as parents and we are beating up our children. We are telling them that it is correct for you to beat up someone who is weak. And so when they grow up and they are doing it, they are using domestic violence, beating up their wives in the homes, and we say they have demons. They don't have demons. We created them, we developed them that way. We socialize them that you can beat up someone whom you perceive as weaker, or when you disagree, you can actually beat up someone. So that is the person that we are creating. The irony of my child beating another one ku road, oya ndodzonze aruwa umwe ndotora shamu ndomurowa ndichiti usarove umwe mwana. Inini ndichimurowa ndichiti ndogara ndichikuudza everyday kuti usarove vamwe vana muroad. It doesn't make sense, because what I'm doing does not reflect what I'm telling the child. So we're creating someone who grows up thinking that when you disagree. So when they now fight in politics, politics, party, we don't agree, people start fighting. We have been socializing each other for a long time that we fight if we don't agree. But that is not the person that you want to create. So maybe at a basic level, it has been proven over and over again that corporal punishment does not work. It doesn't tell the child what to do. It's a quick way of dealing with someone, but it doesn't give them the values that you want, the morals that you want. It doesn't tell them the way that we want them to go. Let's take time with our children. Let's use other methods which are there, which have been. It has happened in women used to be, men used to beat up their wives. It used to happen. It used to be allowed by the law. When the Domestic Violence Act came, it disappeared. It's no longer there as much as we used to see it. So it is possible for us to end corporal punishment on children. It's possible. We can start now and create a generation that now says we don't beat up our children. It has happened elsewhere. People don't beat up their children. They still become successful. So why are we still doing it as well? We can still do it because it has happened as far as women and gender is concerned. I think I'll leave it for now.
Yeah, quite some interesting interventions. Long back, you could actually know when you were in for a beating. They were, like he talked about body language. There was a kind of eye. The relatives or someone comes to your house and you are busy misbehaving. You'd be given a certain kind of eye that maybe the older generation is aware of. You'll be dragged from one corner to the next. And to the next corner, you'd not be told that you are in for it. But as soon as you came across that eye, it would guide you to where you were supposed to be. And you'd go there. And if you're supposed to keep quiet, you would be given the head signals. So I would know from the younger generation, is that kind of body language still there? And in terms of now, even language, if you are free, kukuluma munogona kutaura. You can use any language in this fora for getting across the message. Feel free to use zvaunoda. Tinenge tichingohwisisana tichienda mberi takadaro.
You use the word nini, and what happens nenini is that they may not cry when you beat them, right? But somewhere that hate is happening within the body. It's building up. If you have done psychology, it tells you that the body absorbs certain things, and when it then opens up, you may not be able to control the violence that comes with it. So even nini kusaichema kwayo, don't think haisiri kunzwa, zviri kupinda. The pain is building up in the body, and at some stage when they grow up, counselors are having problems with people who are failing to have my relationships. It could be with women, it could be with men, it could be within their peers. They're failing because of that beating that they experienced. When they see a man, they always see somebody who beats up people. They see a woman, they always see this person who beats them up. So they fail to get into relationships because of that. So we need to know that there are long-term effects of corporal punishment that are emerging in adults today, which are causing relationship problems even within our society. So that's one bit that you don't see, but it emerges in adults. Last week I only had somebody who was beaten by a teacher in grade 5. He's now an adult, he's working. He says he now has a condition as a result of being hit against the wall by the teacher. And he met this teacher recently, and he asked the same question. Do you know, when you beat me when I was in grade 5, I now have a condition, a medical condition, which requires me to take drugs every time. And he says the teacher is scared now. He's not sure what will happen to him, whether this guy will sue the teacher as an individual. So these are some of the effects. They are very subtle. But when they then emerge, you have challenges in society. So nini, it absorbs. At some stage it comes out.
The issue of cause and effect, there's a man that has been holding a microphone for quite some time, and I think he has a burning question, and I don't know, maybe you sue the whole panel and myself. So if you are free to give your intervention.
maita zvakanaka muye maita basa madzikati dzegideon ndiro zita ndine zvinhu zviviri ndiri mutori wenhau ndine zvinhu zviviri zvandiroda kuti ndinzwisisewo sori ndati ndibvunze neshona kuitira kuti vamwe vedu pamwe hatina kusvika kwakasvikawo vamwe kana kuti tiri kuendawo kwakasvika vamwe saka ndati ndibvunze neshona kana paina vanozokwanisa kuinterpreta woti interpretero nechirungu. Ndine zvinhu zviviri zvandiri kuda kunzwawo nezvazvo, handizivi kuti ndiani angakwanise kundipindura pazvinhu izvozvo zviviri. Tine influence of culture paissue corporal punishment nenyaya yemasystems traditional systems atinawo, kungave kuri kumaruzevha nekupi nekupi. Kuti mwana akarohwa akakuvara zvinonzi vakurova ndimukanya, nyaya iyi ukairipota takagarisana namukanya hazvingaiti zvakadi zvakanaka. Ndezvipi zvatingaite isusu kuti issue culture even religion ikwanise yokupa vana vari kusangana necorporal punishment kunzvimbo dzakaita seidzodzo. Ndinoziva vemakereke, sorry handidi kuti nditaure kuti kereke yakati, mwana akakanganisa pangave pachiraini pavanenge vachinamatira ipapo, zvinonzi punishment yako muchatema moto, muchatema huni dzemoto wezoto. Moto wezoto ndidzo huni dzakawandisa dziya dzekuti kana vanhu vava kunamata vanogona kurara all night prayer vari pano pakachena, pano pamhene pavanenge vachinamatira vari. So unoona kuti mwana wechikoro anozotemeswa ngoro 3 dzehuni kumamisha uko zviri kuitika. Saka tingaite sei kuti tibvise dambudziko iroro, kungave kumakereke kana even culture yedu ichiti hatifaniri kuripotera mukanya nekuti tiri vagarisani. Ndatenda zvangu.
Thank you very much for the question. One thing that we should do is to make people aware of the rights of children. Awareness campaigns through the radio, through our various CSOs. I'm glad you are a media person. You should help us as a media person. The media is a very good conduit of information to spread to communities, to spread to churches, and also other areas where we feel there is serious violation of children's rights. And where we've made these people aware, I'm glad there's a police officer here, and she's ready with the mic. We also encourage the police to act on various reports that are coming from those communities. It is very true that some churches, there's rampant abuse of children, like what you are saying. But that's child labor. They are not corporal punishment. The child doesn't understand why this is happening. It instills physical harm rather than understanding on the part of a child. So what we need is for a child to understand that what I have done is wrong. In any setting, positive discipline works. And that's why we are saying, Reverend, our laws should be aligned so that it includes elements of positive disciplining, and also outdo this corporal punishment which inflicts perhaps the inspector can add more.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chief Inspector Sengwe. I'm from the Victim Friendly Unit National Office, and I would like to urge people maybe to report. You can report on behalf of anybody. It can come to the police as a tip-off. You can write an anonymous letter with the details of maybe the child who will be a victim maybe of physical abuse. We call it physical abuse according to the law. And like what Reverend was saying, the Zimbabwe Republic Police has the victim-friendly unit at each and every police station in this nation. So one can report on behalf of anyone, even at school children. We also carry out awareness campaigns, telling them on how they can maybe file a report with the police whenever they face or come across any form of abuse. I wanted to answer my brother. Munhu wese anogona kunge achiripota, and imimi mukaziya kwazvinenge zvichiitikira makasununguka kutipa information semapurisa kuti pakati tiri kuona zvakadai zvichiitika kuvana, and will take action. This topic that we are discussing, it's a very critical topic. It's an important one, and also I feel that we also need to talk to vana. First, they need to be educated of their rights, and also on how they should behave. Because once we talk about vana vasikufanira kurohwa mudzimba, and if we go about saying that amfanira kunge muri kurohwa, vanoita musikanzwa. And pachichaita awareness campaigns, educating the parents, the guardians, whoever who is in charge with vana, we should also talk to vana on how they should behave. I think that way this will work. Because once we say, yeah, we should advocate for their rights, but they also need to know on how they should be behaving. I'm saying this because I'm from the Victim Friendly Unit, and we've come across several vana vari kurarama nenzira dzekukopera dzakashata, and vamwe vanenge vachinetsa. And like my brother was saying, from the Department of Social Services, we also need more resources for us to be able to help vana. There are some gaps in these issues. We also need maybe counseling centers. I think maybe what I'm saying now is my recommendations for this to work. We need more counseling centers whereby if a child is being a problem at home, mai vamutadza vanofanira kunge vachiona kugona kunge vachibatsirwa kuti vange vachibatsirikana nemwana. it's said at times because mai vanogona kufunga kuti vari kuranga mwana vopara mhosva. Once had a case whereby amai vakarova mwana anga akwata vachiti vanga vachimudzidzisawo zvavanofunga kuti zvinenge zvakanaka, vakambva vamurova ndobva atsatika ziso. And she came to the police. It was very sad because she was saying it was not my intention kuti nditi mwana asazooni, but ndaiti ndiri kumutsura. And takatotora tikavaendesa mumatare edzimhosva. They would regret, but somehow we need to come up with masolutions anotibatsira, because mai vainga vakuti handizivi kuti achazonditarisa sei muupenyu hwangu, kana ndiri kugona kuti ndiende zvangu zvamuchose itai kuti ndiende, but donzvo rangu ranga riri kuti ndipe mwana upenyu. So when we are talking about these issues, we need to look at both sides, and we need to come up with masolutions anobatsira vana vedu kuti vakure vari vana vakanaka, vanoteerera, vasingashungurudze vabereki. Ivo vabereki voitawo vabereki vakanaka, vanenge vachigona kupa vana gwara nenzira dzekuti vana vedu havashungurudzike. Thank you.
Right, I think from the discussion, from what has been said, it would be very appropriate. Namboda kumboti ndimboita kaslogan yauti vana but ndazoshaya kuti vanozoansa kuti chii, saka ndangoti better timbo after intervention yamama then tinombokupaiwo microphone mumbotaurawo zvamunonzwawo, kuitira kuti pamunobvawo panapa musazoti kwataenda ikoko vava vachitaura zvecorporal punishment asi isusu tanyimwa chitauriso chichauya mumaoko yenyu mozvitaurira mega. Taurai mama.
Mazita enyu. My name is Eunice Hove. Ndinoitwa Eunice Hove. Contribution yangu, this is a very sensitive issue. In helping our children, of course they have their rights, but pane responsibility as well yavanenge vainayo. Yandaona ndafarira kutaurwa kwaita neveku-Ministry of Social Services kuti pane positive discipline. My recommendation inenge like a recommendation kuti vana, children learn from what they see and they learn from information. My recommendation would be that even per gender bill, even per nezvinoitika within the country, a lot of violations happen. A lot of what do you call abuses happen. But if those abuses can be recorded, especially are positive, where corrective measures have been done, and when that corrective measure has been done, ichimba yabudisa a positive reward. It's something that we could use per curriculum yanga ichitaurwa yevana. Could you record those things? Pane chakati chakaitika, and this was corrected, and this was the resultant. I think zvinobatsira vana as well kuti vanenge vachiona kuti zveshuwa even munyika machona munhu akarohwa akaendeswa kumaporisa pane corrective measure inoitwa yakadai, so I can follow that. But if that is not in place, you find vana vaya who thrive on vachingaikira authority vanomva vaona kuti well, if kumsoro mai vachingorohwa and nothing is done, if kuchikoro izvi zvichiitika and nothing corrective is done, it means kuti zvinongoramba zvichiitika. I think we need to have a record of positive interventions dzinenge dzichiitika. Ndatenda.
Makadini naita yenye starangu nezimsilekasi Akim. Chirongwa chakanaka zvikuru. Asi maonero angu ndiri kuona a situation of a one-way system instead of it being two-way. I don't know what efforts are being made by the relevant authorities, especially the Ministry of Social Welfare here, kubatsira the same vana to also realize kuti vanofana kuchengetedza unhu hwavo, because maonero andiri kuita ndeyekuti tiri kuda kuti tivake a community iri free from violence, as well as a family iri free from abuse and violence, I would say. So that being the case, isisu se-Ministry of Social Welfare kana ma-relevant authorities, what efforts are we putting in place to teach vana vamwe chete ivavo kuti vazive kuti havachagona kurohwa asi vanogona kutsiurwa in a positive way, like you have said, because senge zvataurwa na-assistant na-officer, pari kuita macases akawanda ema-advantages ari kutorwa nevana over parents, mazhinji ekutonyepa chaiwo. Bereki anocreaterwa a story and anopedzisira ararama cells, and kana ararama cells, it becomes a very regrettable situation. Saka ndachitarisira kuti maybe tinogona kuwana side. Tanzwa pano pataurwa macampaign whatever zvanga achizoitwa naari kuitwa, kana kuti ma-authorities ari muma-communities edu ari kugona kubatsira pane nyaya iyi, but hatisi kuona pari kutaurwa kunzi mwana uyu ngaabatsirwe kuti azive kuti haafani kutora advantage kana kuabuse the same law yakuuya, because remember there is going to be an abuse as long as we are talking about this issue in one-sided. So that's an area that I thought you could clarify on, so that pamunosvika kana kuti patinosvika munzvimbo dzakafanana nekuma-schools dzatataura dziedzi, dzatinogona kusangana nevana vakawanda panzvimbo imwe chete, pawane mukana wekuti naivowo vabatsirwe kuziva kuti handicharohwi asi handichafani kuita sei kaabuse the same bill that is protecting these kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, for the contribution. I think as you were asking your question, you were also answering it. As we go into communities doing awareness campaign on children's rights, we don't only focus on the rights of children, we also talk of responsibilities. Those children, they also have responsibilities. And we make sure they have to know that. And as much as they have the right to go to school, they must also learn. They must also read books. They must also not play in class. And as much as these children have the right to food, they must also wash dishes in their home. So we teach them, we make them aware of their rights and responsibilities. Making them aware of their rights only is not effective, but also their responsibilities. What does a society expect them to do in return? It's bi-directional. These are your rights and these are your responsibilities. This is what we can do for you, Kuchkoro, but you also need to read your books. You also need to be well behaved. So thank you very much for raising that. We share with our CSOs as we continue to develop our awareness campaigns, our curricula, that the component of rights and responsibilities is also enshrined, is also taken on board. Thank you.
All right, just to add as well, that the discussion is certainly not to say let there be no discipline. So let's differentiate between discipline and corporal punishment. What we are saying no to is the corporal punishment, the beating up of the child. But the discipline aspect has to be there. It continues even as adults. We're also disciplined. You are taken to court and you are jailed. That is discipline that is happening. So discipline will always be there. And we've been given a whole number of methods of how we can do it. Other countries have been doing it and very successfully as well. So discipline will continue. Let no one then be, because I know my teachers unions will then say to start discipline. Discipline will always be there, and it is our responsibility as teachers and also as parents to discipline your own child. In disciplining them is guiding them, mentoring them on what is wrong, what is right, and we continuously do that. Even as adults, we are still being disciplined by our own parents. But the corporal punishment aspect is the one that we are saying let's remove. But yes, I agree with the responsibilities and rights are being raised as well.
Okay. This is proving to be quite an interesting fora. The questions are flowing in. Time is not on our side. Just tempted to take most probably the last 2 questions and then we wrap up. 2 quick questions, 2 quick responses, and then we are done. So one, so that at least we just balance it out. I think we can finish up. Nevana, not that you're not important, but I was just picking up the hands that were up. So, you go.
Alright, mangwana ndonzi Mike child MP weku Warren Park Welfare here. Ndanchida kubvunza kuti hongu mwana abuswa physically handika. Obva aenda kunoripota kupolisi. Kana vabereki vaitwa zvavanenge vaitwa nelaw nemutemo. Mwana uyu anozodzokera here pamba panga achigara apo mushure menge aripotera vabereki vari kumuchengeta vari kumupa sadza. Kana kuti ane kwaanozoenda here. Uye hazvisi zvinozopunza ukama here kubreaka family bonds chichichi kuti mwana akambosungisa vabereki. Asi ndovaada kuti vabereki vangu ndovaada kuzochema varufu rwake. Zvinoita here.
Chief, you want to respond?
Hatidi kuti vana vagare vachitambudzika ende hamufanira kunge muri kusvika pekuti unopondwa nababa kana namai nokuti havafaniri kunge vari mundi handiti. Saka nyaya yakadaro ndeyekuti tinoeja kuti munge muchitaura. Isi semapurisa tinotora nyaya yako, tinoshanda neDepartment of Social Welfare, zvinoongororwa. Dzimwe dzenguva kune nyaya yekuti vanenge vachida kutodzidziswawo sezvazvinga zvitaurwa panapa, kuti vanoda kutodzidziswa kuti no, mwana anoda kutaurwa naye zvakadai zvakadai zvakadai, neiyewo mwana odzidziswa kuti anofanira kunge ari kutaurwa naye kusvikira papi handiti. But macases emaabuse akaita sana rape, baba varepa ndo breadwinner. Pavanenge vachitorepa votoratidza kuti havana hanya nemwana because vatobhinya hombe handiti. Saka isusu tishanda neDepartment of Social Welfare, munoona munogona kuzochengetedzeka mabvisirwa mundi. Vanofanira kunge vari baba but havana kutora danho rokuchengetedza sababa. Pane nzira dzekuti zvinge zvichigadziriswa. Musapondwe makanyarara, munouya kumapurisa tinokubatsirai. Zvinobatsirika zvakanaka zvokuti munotozogona kugara zvakanaka murufaro, vaziva kuti vanofanira kunge vachikurangai sei kana kuri kuranga, kwete kuponda handiti.
Right. I think pane mumwe mwana ari kutsvaka ane mubvunzo wake waari kuda kuvhunza. Zvino ma-MP muri kuda kutora nguva kudziya here? Mune muchida kumboona constituency yenyu?
Mamkasei ndinoitwa Pride. Ndinoda kubvunza officer ipapapa kuti are we not creating enmity between a parent and the child? Anditi pakuti mwana haachabvumidze kuroorwa handitika. And then parent aizoi here negative attitude towards mwana achisvika kunzi maybe he or she will be sued as a parent against mwana. And hatisi kutorera here vabereki responsibility yavo over vana. Not kuti advocating for corporal punishment, but vana we are starting from mwana ari born today handitika. And then takuti mwana ye hafane kurohwa. Some vana vasati mature enough, so they will take that advantage kunetsa ma-parents. So andizive zvangu kuti how are we dealing with that?
Nokuti mukurangwa ari kuti zvinogona kuvabatsira, but nyaya iripo ndeyekuti tiri kuti mukurangwa kwacho kumukurangwa kusvikira papi handiti. Endi zvandambotaura ndofunga kana wambenge wakateerera ndichitaura kuti izvoni nyaya iyi inoda kuti iongororwe nokuti ine zvakawanda zviri mairi. Mukoma wangu vari papamva kuti aiwa ngatisaregerei ngatitarisei nzira dzese kuvana vacho nekuvabereki vacho, nokuti isusu tikangotanga kungoti vana havafaniri kurohwa. Ndofunga munongoziva how we are as Zimbabweans, the social media platform, how we use it. Handiti pakambenge pambonzanzi mbanje dzakanaka dzinogona kuzonge dzichirimwa dzigozotibatsira kuti tinge tichita sei tichirarama, maybe kuti mushonga chichi dzanga dzakungoputwa pese pese nevanenge vachifara vachishandisa nenzira dzisiri idzo. Inini matauriro andiri kuita ndeyekuti vana varofanira kunge vari kudzidziswa, handiti, ende vana varofanira kunge vachiremekedza vabereki. Sekuvictim friendly tine nyaya dzakawanda. Ndofunga mazuva apera makambona maissues emavhuzu party anga anetsa kuBulawayo, and muno muHarare zvitoriko kuna anonzi mapool party ekuti vana vari kunetsa, and dzimwe dzenguva semubereki anogona kusaziva kuti how do I handle mwana uyu, ende vamwe vabereki vacho vangatozoshamisika vachidedzwa kumapurisa kunzi tine vana venyu kunoku, ende vanga vari half naked, havana kumbobvira vamboonekwa kubuda kwavanga vaita kumba, ende mubereki anogona kutsamwa orova mwana, ende orova mwana zvisiri izvo zvokuti pamwe mwana anogona kukuvara. Saka isusu tiri kuti hatisi kuda kuti vana varohwe zvokuti vakuvare vakanganisike, but tiri kuda kuti vana vedu vange vachiteerera. Saka ndopamambozonzwa ndichiti no, paishu iyoyi tiri kufanira kuti tiite come up nemastructures, tofanira kunge tiine maresources, tofanira kunge tiine machild institutional places akanaka, ende imimi vana vacho mufanira kunge muchienda muchinoteerera kwete kufarira tiri kunzi hatiri kufanira kunge tiri kurohwa. Nokuti semubereki ndinenge ndichibatikanawo kuti ndikasamurova ndozoita sei, but kurova mwana kukanganisawo maybe maraisi ake in a way, because tiri kuisa pain pamwana. But zvinhu zvekuti kana mauya kumapurisa tinogarisana pamwe chete mwana nemubereki, kunoitwa inonzi counseling yekuti hatisi kuda kuti ukama hwemwana nemubereki hunge huchikanganisika. Tinoshandisa Department of Social Services, vanova macustodians evana munyika medu, kuti tichionesana kuti tingabatsirana kusvikira kwapi. Mbaita
right. Zvino pazvinenge zvakunakidza bebe. Alright, hande tivape mukana pazvinenge zvakunakidza zvakupisa bebe vanhu mibvunzo ndopa inotanga kunyatsobuda.
Thank you very much. Let me start by introducing myself. I'm Torai Moyo. I'm a legislator. I represent Gogochirea constituency, and you find Gogochirea in the Midlands province. I'm a member of the Portfolio Committee on Primary and Secondary Education. My contribution to the issue is that as a committee, and also my own personal perspective, I don't agree or subscribe to the view that students should be given corporal punishment. By punishing a student, we are inflicting pain on that particular individual. It's inhuman to punish someone, whether beating, it's inhuman, and also it's unconstitutional. According to our constitution, it's illegal to inflict pain on another person. And I even my own children, I have 3 children, I have never beaten my children. We need to investigate. If a student is making some misdemeanors or misbehaving, we need to investigate why that particular individual is misbehaving. And in schools, we don't encourage teachers to beat students. Beating students is tantamount to, being a traditional way of teaching. It's retrogressive, it's archaic. It's something that used to obtain during our time. I remember when I started grade 1 in 1977, then we were beaten by our teachers because there were no new methods of teaching. When we talk of new methods, we are looking at the new pedagogical ways, andragogical ways of teaching. We need to investigate psychological issues on that particular individual, and that will be the best way to prescribe the way of dealing with a problematic child. Beating is absolutely should be disallowed, should be outlawed, and should be illegal. Thank you very much.
Some new words coming up there. Chatonyora mbuku mangu. I know there were some people with burning questions. Let's keep them short and we move forward so that everyone anoendambo chiruma chinonakidza ichi.
Okay. Hello, thank you very much. I am Mr. Strolle from the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education Head Office. I have identified quite a number of issues from our discussion, which I would like to refer to as gaps. The first gap that I have identified is that maybe when we go out for these outreach programs, there is need for us to clarify on the differences between corporal punishment and discipline as the first issue, because it seems there is a misunderstanding there. Then the second thing maybe that would need to tackle is on the balance between the rights and the responsibilities of our children. The balance should be there so that the children themselves would actually know the rights versus their responsibilities to avoid failure to interpret the intended goals correctly. So the other issue that I would like to talk about here involves all stakeholder involvement in all these issues that we are talking about. No one should be left behind from the onset, so that we would have a background of what actually is taking place and where we are coming from and where we are going. And at the same time, there is need for a mindset shift, especially within all the stakeholders involved, mainly because if the children would maybe label any form of discipline as a way which would actually inflict or cause negative repercussions on themselves, obviously they won't be in a position to actually accept any form of advice from parents. Then last but not least, from the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education side, there is this competence-based curriculum which has got a philosophy of unu, ubuntu, umunu, or respect. That actually angers the competence-based curriculum. So the aspect of respect, it's respect for everyone in society. So if there is that respect between the children as well as the parents, obviously there is effective communication, and as a result, the intended goals of our children will actually be fulfilled in life. So issues to do with misbehavior in one way or the other will be reduced. Thank you.
Right. Next speaker, we are moving forward to full throttle.
Ndinotenda Noctula Matsikenyiri from Chimanimani West constituency. I also belong to the parliamentary committee education. Takafamba muno muZimbabwe tichita mahearing nebill iri, vabereki vanoda kuti vana varohweswe. Saka mune basa, of course kuparliament isu secommittee we recommended kuti corporal punishment should be removed completely, and I'm sure ichaita sell through, but vabereki vaitotipopotera. They were saying, imimi ndimwe munosvika mochinja, takuudzai isusu zvatinoda kuti vana vedu ngavarohwe. You are an MP now because your teacher was beating you. You are a headmaster, you are a whatever because you are being beaten. Saka titori nebasa guru rokuti my parents are saying munonochinja zvinhu zvedu zvatinenge taita sei takupai, because truly speaking almost 75% vaiti vana vedu ngavarohwe kuchikoro, and mamwe maparents anototora mwana kuenda naye kuna teacher kana atadza, nokuti iye haadi kurova, anoda kuti teacher vadiscipline. Saka munotori nebasa guru, sure munofanira kufamba muchieducate maparents, because ndiwo ane nyaya hombe yokuti kuchikoro mwana akasarohwa havasi kuita basa ravo. Saka havasi kuziva the difference discipline and corporal punishment. Ipapo pane nyaya mune basa tatenda nemaramba muchinda kwese kwese muchidzidzisa mazvita.
Then pane vari
Ndinoitwa Pastor Deborah from ZNCWC. Corporal punishment yatiri kutaura iyi. As a mother of 4, hapana pandakamboita pandakamborova mwana ndikabva ipapo ndichirova zvirova dundundu kuti yeya ndakapedzera. Now ukakunyatsowa disciplined, hapana. Every time when you do that, unobva ipapo uine shame yekuti hapana here imwe way yandingadai ndakashandisa. Saka I know kuti yes, my parents were saying kuti what are the alternatives, but tiri kuti isusu izvi zvakaipa. So let's sit down, say my parents or say community, titi toitei, what are the alternatives? Nisarove mwana wangu, sa inflicte pain pamuiri we mwana wangu. Sa indofana ku atireke ngotsvaga chinhu chingori easy kuti kungoregerera ruoko is the easiest thing. Ngatimolde like what the social welfare was saying. Let's mold our children. Okay, allow me to speak to the religious community. Nenyaya yatiri kutaura nezvayo kuti we might try kuti ti use the Bible kuti tichityora mutemo kana kuti tichiri abuse in a way where we would say we would really love to quote mama verses waya tichitaura nezveroad like what Ref said kuti chinombonzi road chacho chii. Let's define the road. Kuvaimborevei pazvaitaurwa zvinzi don't spare the road. Asi kana tasvika kwatiri isusu because kuna Colossians inototaura kuti parents do not provoke your children to anger. Inonyatsotaura zvakanaka. Proverbs 3. Then tasvika isusu ende inobva itaura kuti iwewe semubereki une anokuita look after. Saka isinisa zvandiri baba kana zvandiri amai ndinawo baba vari pamusoro pangu. Would I love kuti ndikangotadza ndobva ndatonzi naMwari ga, ndikangotadza ndobva ndatonzi ga. Ndo zvandingadere. We talk about grace in the New Testament. Tikatasvika panyeno kuti we are parents, tobva tati aiwa the law was abolished, hapasina instant justice, vanhu taku apply grace. Why can't we apply grace even kuvana veduwo isusu? Tobva tati aiwa regai ndimbomuregerera, regai nditsvage another way yekuti ndidhile nenyaya iyi. So let us not abuse the Bible.
Amen.
Good morning. Yes, my name is G.L. Gomera from the Ministry of Justice, Pretrial Diversion Department. My question to the panelists is have they done any research in terms of the success of this program in other African countries and how that can be transferred to our Zimbabwean environment? And also I heard the Rev talking about some cases of corporal punishment turning to child abuse. To what extent can those cases be generalized or universalized to justify corporal punishment for the whole country? Thank you.
Thank you from the Ministry of Justice. As I said, maybe not arrived as a country of already ratified the 2 instruments that are dealing with corporal punishment. So as a state, we acknowledge that corporal punishment is inhumane and we take it like that. Because already ratifying it is acknowledging that this we agree, and now we are moving towards domesticating those instruments. So in a way the state has done its part, but what remains is popularizing. Yes, the research is there from countries. Earlier on, I'll leave this to Blessing. He cited countries that have abolished corporal punishment. One of them, a pioneer, is Sweden. So we have examples of where corporal punishment was applied and the children remain disciplined. So, and scientifically, corporal punishment has been proved that it causes pain, it causes psychological damage. So the evidence is there. If you want, we can engage on a one-on-one basis to try and talk to that. Our own law, the Children's Act, speaks to the issue of corporal punishment. It's inhumane. The current Children's Act, as it is, before it's revised. So already in terms of our own setup, those things are in place. The Ministry of Education has also made an attempt, the P35, in trying to address corporal punishment in schools, because they've realized teachers were beating children, and the ministry official here can witness to that. But the bill is now moving towards total removal of corporal punishment. So it's quite clear that it's not the best way of disciplining children, and I acknowledge from the ministry official to say let's separate between discipline and corporal punishment. And those efforts, I think, is what we need to take forward.
So can I also answer I think for the purposes of time, what we can do is I'll give you 2 minutes and then we wrap it up.
I'm now speaking not as a legislator, but as an educationist. Having spent 14 years at the University of Zimbabwe, Faculty of Education. All student teachers undergoing training in Zimbabwe are taught not to beat students. They should investigate why a particular individual is misbehaving. Psychological, sociological, philosophical implications have to be, a research has to be done. If need be, that a student might need counseling as a way to solve indiscipline. Thank you.
All right, and just to add as well that the research that you are talking about, we don't want to go outside Zimbabwe because we have done it here in Zimbabwe. So as Plan International, we have had a project for a long time in parts of Zimbabwe, which we call Learning Without Fear. It has been very successful in schools that we support where corporal punishment is not used at all. And those schools are still appearing as some of the best schools in Zimbabwe. So the evidence is actually for Zimbabwe, not from anywhere else. But let me just allow my colleague here to talk about additional researches that we are doing to give people alternatives to corporal punishment. So I'll allow him to just 2 minutes. Right.
Hello, my name is Ryosuke Muramatsu from Japan. I'm also working with Plan International Zimbabwe. So the project that I'm also working with is about education with Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education. We work closely with them. It is to promote the positive discipline. So this is funded by the government of Japan. And then in the project, we are going to develop the teachers' handbook and manuals that can be used for the teachers' training in the future. But before doing that, we are going to do the baseline survey, actually, to know the extent of what is the gap, what is the actual current situation, what works, what doesn't work. So that kind of actual situation can be reflected on the teacher's handbook and manuals. So that is the some of the effort that we are doing with the relevant ministries. I really want to appreciate the support, and if you want to collaborate with us, really welcome. And thank you for the giving us time. Yeah, thank
you. Right. By the powers vested in me, I do declare the floor closed. Okay, basically I think this has been quite an interesting discussion regarding corporal punishment. I do believe that all the people that attended this, the older generation, I know on Facebook, on WhatsApp, there's always photos of the Mugoti, the Patapata and whatnot, generations arguing who was beaten the most and who suffered the most. And what I have managed to gather from this discussion is that we're entering a new frontier whereby we've got the younger generation, we've got the older generation. There's a lot that is going to happen, but what I have just discovered is that there's a lot of gelling in terms of experiences, and there is a lot of movement in terms of one direction. What consensus is there now? The general consensus is that corporal punishment is something that is basically not good for anyone. Parents have agreed, they feel the shame. There's a lot that actually happens within that process. And what I'm happy about is that we've shared experiences in terms of the countries where we are going as Zimbabwe, where we want to go. We are not going in terms of uncharted territory. We are going in a direction that has been taken by other countries. We are not doing it alone. It's something that has been done before in other countries. People from other countries have grown up. They have not been subjected to the corporal punishment, and they've grown up to be well-molded, well-rounded citizens. We've been given input from the Department of Social Welfare, the work that they are doing in order to mold the younger generation that may be going the other way. And what I was particularly happy were the kind of interventions that can be put in place so that we develop that well-rounded individual. It's not a case of the road onto the child. It's a case of understanding why the child is behaving in a particular manner, what is happening to the child, sitting down with the children and understanding where they are going, where they are coming from. We were also given the implications, the long-term effects of that corporal punishment, people needing medications 30, 40, 50 years later for kurohwa kwaakaitwa achiri grade 5. And that is long-term effects of just one event, which most probably happened in anger. And also what was also quite interesting, the interplay between poverty and corporal punishment. Isusu tisina mari dzekombi ndosvika ndorohwa mwana because kombi yakuita RTGS $5 and sanhasi, so unenge uchida upindawo muzupco onzi akwewo mudharayo nesuti yako uri kuita seiko, urida kupinda nepahwindo here? Ndotadza kupinda muzupco and ndosvika kumba ndobva mwana wongosvika kuti dediko iwe. So it's for me it's been quite an eye opener, and I'll agree that I hope and I know that everyone has something to take away regards this engagement, and I sincerely thank you for coming through on this day. And I apologize, we did not start off with a prayer, but we are in the presence of pastors, prophets, prophetesses, and zvakangodaro. So I wouldn't know kuti pana ari kuda kuisa munamato here as we close the event, not limited to mapastors ka ungazoti anzi akati mufundisi vanamate, ini ndabatwa nemweya wekuda kunamata.
Sorry, handisi kuda kunamata.
Okay. Ndajamba.
I just want to thank everyone kutenda vemese nekuuya kwamaita to this dialogue. Tinovimba kuti kasike kupedzesera kuti tiunganidze vanhu tichitaura nyaya iyoyi. Inyaya yatoda kuendesa kumusoro kuti titaure kwete kwete kuti tiite maplatforms madiki aya, but even kuenda kuma-communities tichinotaura. Ndanzwa mama vachitaura vachiti hazvisi kuzivikanwa kuende zveshuwawo, hazvisi kuzivikanwa kuti toda kuti tibvise corporal punishment nekuda kwezvikonzero zvakati zvakati. Havatoziyewo mastudies ese ari kunzi akaitwa aya, havatomaziyewo. Tambotaura necolleague panze tikati program yepretrial diversion yaane makore akawanda ichiitwa muno muZimbabwe, but vangani vari kuiziya
kuti kana mwana achinge apara kamhosva kanonzi kamhosva kadiki diki, pane kuti timuendese kukoti anomira pamberi pemajistrate taane zvimwe zvatakumitisawo, zvinhu zvatisiri kuziva. Saka zvinhu zvakawanda zvatiri kuita muno muZimbabwe zvakanaka, zviri kuda kuchengetedza vana vedu zvisati zvakuzivikanwa. Saka tichaedza kuti tingaite sei nevamwe vatinoshanda navo zviende kumativi ese eZimbabwe kuti zvizivikanwe, kuitira kuti panozonzi mutemo uyu wapaswa, vanomiririra kubva vanzi imimi takakutumai makuita zvisirizvo, vanenge vachiziva kuti izvi mutemo uyu wakabvira kupi. And kana taanewo mutemo unosunga munhu, handiti a law binds a person to do or not to do a thing. Saka ezvinezvi it's difficult kuti tiende tonoti musaite corporal punishment tisina chinhu chiri kubinda kusunga vanhu kuti kana makaita corporal punishment pachaita chakati. So tinovimba kuti tichasangana zvakare maplatforms madiki nemakuru tichitaura nyaya yecorporal punishment, and rimwe zuva hopefully tichacelebrata kuti taanacho a piece of paper riri kusunga kuti chi no corporal punishment. And ndiri kufara kuti we have representatives from the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee Education. We are hoping kuti the education bill rinopasa rigopfuura sezvariri. I think we have already made gains with that bill and some of the things zviroda kupaswa nebill iroro, zvekuti kana zvikasabuda inenge yato retrogression chayo, takutodzokera kumashure. Hatisi kuda kudzokera kumashure nezvimwe zvakawanda zvatatonazvo. Tinotenda zvakanyanyisa. Thank you very much for your time. Masiya zvanga muchiita mukauya pano. Tichadzosera nguva yedu kuna facilitator. Tine kudya kudiki diki kwatangogadzira, patinenge takuenda tinongopfuura tichiwana kudya. Thank you very much.
Ndanga ndakuda kushandisa dzese ndimboona kuti ndikadai zvinoita here. Saka zvino manje munhu akuzonamatira zvinhu zvakawanda. Achanamatira kufambira kwataita pano, ozonamatira futi chikafu, double prayer, toipani prayer. Mama maita basa.
Ngatinamate muzita raBaba nereMwanakomana neroMweya Mutsvene. Toda kutendai tenzi masikati ano nekuti muri Mwari anogona, Mwari akatendeka, Mwari werudo. Matifambisa kuti tiuye paprogramu ino yekuti tive tinokurukura, kubatisana, kudzidzisana, kuonesana kuti zvakamira sei pamusoro pachatingati chirwere checorporal punishment. Toda kutendai nemafacilitators edu vanga vari kutijekesera vachitionesa. Toda kutendai nemaresearch avakaita. Tinokumbira kuti zvisangomirira nekuperera bedzi mukutaura, asi tive tinokwanisa kuimplementa zvinhu izvozvi kuti nyika yedu igova nerugare. Tugova nerugare pakati pevana nevabereki, pakati pevana nevadzidzisi. Vana vedu vagova vanobudirira, vachisimukira, vasina kurwadziswa mukati meupenyu hwavo. Tinokutendai kunyangwa nevakuru vabva kumaofisi akasiyana siyana vasiyawo mabasa avo. Tinokumbira kuti muvaropafadze kunyangwa nemacontributions avanga vachipa, itai kuti varambe vachizviita kuti tigova tinosimudzirwa. Tinokutendai kunyangwa nevana vauyawo kuzomiririra vachipawo zvavanofunga, vachionawo zvavanoona. Tinokumbira kuti batsirai vana ivavo kunyangwa pavanoendawo mumafora avo evana vachitaurirana nevamwe vavo marights avo nemaresponsibilities acho. Tinokumbira tenzi kuti chitibatsirai. Tauda kuparadzana kuti tigova tinofamba. Tinokumbira kufambiswa nemi. Mweya Mutsvene wenyu titungamirire mumwe nemumwe kusvika panzvimbo pake tiine rugare. Taramba mweya wematsaona, taramba zvimwe zvinhu zvakaipa mukati meupenyu hwedu. Toda kutendai masikati ano zvakare nevagadziri veprogramu ino varopafadzei kunyangwa nezvekudya zvavatigadzirira. Tinokumbira kuti mugova munodzorera pabhiswa, mugoramba muchingowedzera kuburikidza ndiJesu Kristu tenzi wedu. Amen.
Just a final word.
Light Lighthouse, a division of SlyMedia, are available at your disposal for your wedding videos and pictures. Our experience is second to none. To view our sample or to book us, call or WhatsApp on 0773 684 183 or email slymediastreaming@gmail.com.